Learn these 7 types of desires to manipulate, like Kiyotaka Ayanokoji. Security. A person with this desire wants safety, stability, and protection. To manipulate this desire effectively, you have to understand that the root cause of this desire comes from a place of fear. Something has happened in the past which caused them to seek out safety in the first place. This could be the result of being bullied, being in a hostile environment, or some type of dangerous incident. Whatever it may be, you just need to understand that a person with this desire will naturally want to move towards the feeling of being secure. One way of exploiting this is by simply stating the bad consequences of doing something. This could be you talking about the dangerous things that could happen, or personally showing them something unpleasant. This will trigger their anxiety and desire for safety, which can lead the target to not taking a specific action. Along with that, you can also manipulate the target into becoming more obedient towards you if you meet certain requirements. The requirement is that you need to be a source of safety and protection for your target. If you can do this, the person will happily be more obedient towards you because you're fulfilling their desire for security. This is exactly the same thing Ayanokoji does. He recognizes that Kei has the desire for security, so he intentionally provides safety and protection for her, while also intentionally putting her in situations that put her in the mental state of fear, resulting in her becoming very obedient and dependent towards him. Achievement. This is the desire to obtain a certain level of success. According to social standards, you can easily recognize these individuals with the goal-oriented actions they do. This could be them working out, studying to expand their knowledge, striving to obtain wealth, etc. The important thing to recognize is that there's a crucial psychological pain point that can be exploited, which is not very obvious to most people. If you ask yourself why these individuals strive for achievement, you will discover something that will give you leverage. What you will find is that they want to prove that they are competent to other people. They do all this to obtain social approval and recognition in order to feel important. At its core, this is an ego-driven desire. So if they don't achieve a certain level of success, then they don't see any value in themselves. This will also be a unique type of manipulation because their psychology allows you to manipulate them into becoming better. One way of doing this is mocking and insulting the target for doing something badly. This actually won't make the target discouraged. You will just strengthen their resolve even more because you just triggered their psychological need to prove something to other people. They don't like being seen as inferior, so naturally they will push harder to become better. Keep in mind, you don't necessarily have to ridicule the target. You can also just simply suggest that they are inadequate in a certain area, which will plant the idea of what they need to improve upon, which subtly influences the person to become better. It's similar to how Ayanokoji manipulates Horikita into becoming better, often suggesting that she needs to cooperate with others if she wants to get to Class A, which she eventually learns because Ayanokoji keeps planting this idea within her mind. Power. This type of desire can be related to achievement, but realize it's not exactly the same thing. Both achievement and power rely on social esteem, but the desire for power is all about control and influence over others. This can be considered an achievement, but not to normal social standards. I should also mention that individuals can possess more than one type of desire, but the important thing you need to remember is that everyone will have one central motivating desire that drives all their actions. So when you're observing someone with this desire, you will notice they will often take actions that give them a sense of control and power. It's all about exercising their own influence in order to give themselves a feeling of satisfaction. To manipulate this type of desire, you simply have to understand that they want social status, dominance, and prestige. If you're trying to manipulate this type of target, you have to frame certain options in a way that seems to achieve this particular desire. For example, if you want to manipulate the target into donating money to a certain cause, don't mention how ethical and considerate this action would be, because that doesn't fulfill their primary desire of having power. Instead, you should mention how this donation can improve their reputation and increase their popularity among many people. When you say it like this, it seems more appealing because they like having status and influence over others. So as a general rule, you need to appeal to their self-interest of having power rather than the greater good. If you keep this motivating factor in mind, you can manipulate the target into doing actions that seem to benefit themselves. Belongingness. Social interactions can greatly affect your mental state, and many people unconsciously try to make themselves feel better by being around a group of people. Most do not realize the vast amount of people who want a sense of belonging, and to understand the magnitude of this desire, you simply just need to look at all the people around you. You will see that all these individuals try to find a sense of belonging within friends, family, religion, and many different communities online. The reason people desire this is because they want acceptance from others, which is why you will notice many people try to fit in and conform. It's one of the only ways that they can gain acceptance and get people to like them, which makes this type of person open to manipulation. To find someone with this this primary desire. You need to determine how socially accepted they are. For example, if you observe that an individual has strong connections with multiple people, they probably already have this desire fulfilled. But on the other hand, there will be individuals who have no strong connections at all. Typically, they will be lonely and have low self-esteem. They are not comfortable being alone and desperately want acceptance. Once you recognize this desire within a person, you can easily gain their trust. If you play your cards right, you simply just need to be non-judgmental, respectful, and considerate towards your target. Also, if you deem it necessary, you can lie just to make your target feel good about themselves. Remember, if you don't make your target feel acceptance, then you have failed in fulfilling their desire. But if you do make the target feel accepted, the individual will be more open to your influence, which means that the person will happily join your group, or just be extremely loyal to you in general. It's best to keep in mind that you can target these types of individuals to create a cult-like following. Many different groups in this world already do this, and you can easily replicate their success. You just need to simply remember to give these individuals the feeling of acceptance, and they will happily stay dedicated to the group. Self-direction. This is the desire for independence and freedom. They essentially want to preserve their ability to think freely and choose what they want to do. Keep in mind, people with self-direction as a central desire are more aware when somebody is controlling them. This means they are less susceptible to manipulation. However, it's not impossible to manipulate this type of person. If you deeply understand the psychology of this desire, you will discover a point of leverage that you can use. And that psychological leverage is that these types of individuals hate authority. They essentially don't want to be told what to do and try to resist being controlled. Anything limiting what they can do will trigger their hatred. This gives you an opportunity to manipulate the target into being more antagonistic towards certain people. Specifically, people who are in a higher position of power, or just someone who has a very controlling personality. For example, this could be a teacher, leader, or parental figure. Whatever the case may be, you need to find a way to rile up your target. You could do this by telling the target how a person is controlling them, or perhaps you mention how incompetent and abusive this authority figure is. Mentioning these things will often cause the target to become more angry towards them, because it's a reminder that these authority figures are against their desire. Along with that, you can also make the target more hostile towards people who are very obedient. Once again, it goes against their primary desire. So mentioning how these people are so compliant towards authority can also trigger hostility within your target. Overall, if you know that a person has the self-direction desire, know that there are opportunities to manipulate this person into conflict with certain people. Romance. This is a very common desire that many people desperately want to have. But to manipulate effectively, you have to understand the core reason why individuals want to be intimate with someone. And what you essentially need to know is that it all comes down to the feeling of self-worth. When an individual knows that another person is romantically or sexually attracted to them, they get this feeling of validation, and it makes them feel good about themselves. But a lot of people don't get this at all, which gives you an opening to exploit their desire. One of the ways you can manipulate this type of desire is by sending mixed signals, which means that in certain moments you give your target the feeling of being wanted, and in some moments you don't seem interested and give them no validation at all. Doing this also gives complexity and mysteriousness to your character, which actually makes you more engaging to your target because you're harder to understand. The reason you don't want to completely validate your target at the beginning is because that would make it too easy. When you're easy to understand and possess, they will quickly take you for granted. If you choose to validate immediately, you are technically fulfilling their desire, but it doesn't allow you to use the person over a long period of time. What you need to do is intentionally give the target a mix of both pleasure and pain. This could be you being cold and harsh towards the person in one moment, but in another moment you're more kind and affectionate, which gives the target a sense of relief. This process makes your target addicted to you, and eventually leads the target into becoming emotionally attached to you. It's the same thing that Ayanokoji does. He intentionally becomes cold and makes it seem like he's no longer interested in Kei, but then later on, he becomes more affectionate and caring when she's in psychological pain, making her develop an emotional attachment to him. It's definitely possible for you to create a similar result. All you need to do is use the technique of sending mixed signals, along with alternating between both pleasure and pain. Benevolence. This is the desire to preserve and improve the well-being of others, which means they like helping other people and love the feeling of providing kindness. This might seem like a simple, straightforward desire, but there's actually a lot of complexity that you probably don't realize. They don't just help people for no reason. There's always a psychological reason behind why they do it in the first place. Once again, you have to look at the underlying root cause of the desire, and you will discover that the root cause is also tied to self-worth. But keep in mind that this type of person gets the feeling of self-worth through the help helpful actions they do for other people, which is significantly different from the romance desire. Also, another root cause to their benevolent nature can also be their tendency to feel guilty. It could be because they have a guilty conscience for something they did in the past, so they feel the need to treat people better. It could also be that they naturally have a fragile heart and will always feel guilty when something bad happens to people. Whatever it may be, you just need to keep this in mind so you can clearly see an exploit within their psychology. And the exploit here is that it's easy to guilt trip these individuals into helping you. The key here is to make the target feel sorry for you. You can do this by acting in a certain way, such as being sad, helpless, angry, or disappointed. Along with that, you can also emphasize the bad consequences that could happen to you if you don't receive any help from them. Remember, their primary desire is being helpful and kind. If they don't provide help, they start seeing less value in themselves and will feel extremely unpleasant for them. It's all about pressuring the target into doing something that is perceived to be good. If you can do this well, you will easily get their support and helping hand multiple times. Thanks for watching VevenSeven.